Hey everybody, Meteorologist Mike Slifer here in the Early Warning Weather Center. We are tracking the latest with Nicole's remnants. Certainly a lot to get to with this. Let's start with a look at the storm right now. So here's the storm in Florida. Has caused certainly some devastation to the east coast of Florida. A lot of power outages being reported, some freshwater flooding, and certainly some storm surge issues in the outer bands of these storms, still causing some issues with severe wind, the potential for severe weather. There's been some tornado warnings throughout the day in some of these outer bands too. Right now, still a tropical storm, still maintaining those tropical characteristics. Winds sustained around 45 miles an hour, moving northwest now at 15 miles per hour. And as we get a little bit later into the evening here, we'll watch it really start to take that north curve, and eventually it tracks its way up the spine of the Appalachians, and that is going to help transport a lot of its moisture and part of its wind field to Connecticut later on. So to time all of this out for you, as we go through the evening tonight and into tomorrow morning, we're watching a front that will be crossing the central part of the United States. At the same time, that will help to kick Nicole's remnants off to the north and to the east, bringing heavy rain and the potential for strong wind gusts to New England beginning sometime tomorrow afternoon and evening, likely dealing with our first batch of heavier showers in the middle of Friday afternoon. And then we are expecting the strongest wind gusts and the heaviest rain overnight Friday into Saturday morning. This is actually a pretty fast moving system, so as early as about 6 o'clock Saturday is when the front itself passes. And behind it, while we do remain a bit blustery, things are certainly going to trend drier. So we have an early warning weather alert out for Friday afternoon into Saturday morning. Heavy rain possible, 1 to 2 inches. Yesterday we talked about the possibility of several inches locally, but it seems that with the western track, the biggest risk for that has really shifted away from us, but still expecting some towns to approach 2 inches. Poor drainage flooding certainly possible, especially with all of the leaves down right now. It really doesn't take much for leaves to cause drains and things like that to get blocked up. Today is a great prep day. Good idea to maybe get out there and make sure that the storm drains by you are clear just in preparation for this. We're still expecting wind gusts between about 40 to 50 miles an hour, so isolated power outages certainly on the table. And to break this down a little more in depth, the worst of this, the strongest of this is expected to be overnight Friday into Saturday, so likely starting Friday evening, 7, 8 in the evening, lasting until about 7 or 8 Saturday morning. So it's that 12-hour period where we will pick up pretty much all of our rain, locally higher amounts possible. And again, gusts will be strongest mostly across the shoreline, southeastern Connecticut, but even statewide, we do see the potential for gusts possibly to 40 or so miles an hour. And there's a very, very low chance for a strong to severe thunderstorm, believe it or not, overnight Friday into Saturday. This would be just before the cold front itself passes. Gusts will also be ramping up throughout the day on Friday. So by Friday evening, we still have gusts between about 20 to 30 miles an hour, making their way on shore, climbing quickly to about 40 miles an hour by 10 p.m. Notice it's not going to be quite as gusty along the Mass border and in portions of the hills, but wind gusts do pick up statewide as we head closer to daybreak on Saturday, expecting gusts to top out at this point in time in the 40 mile an hour range along the shoreline in I-95. We'll get one last big push of strong wind gusts just before the cold front crosses early Saturday morning. This is when it's most likely that we could be dealing with some localized power issues. And on the backside of this front, things do stay breezy. So even though the wind shifts to be out of the northwest after that, still expecting things to be gusting between about 20 to 30 miles an hour before we really calm down later Saturday afternoon and evening. And just a reminder, if there are any power issues, that the bucket trucks can only operate when the winds have calmed down. So that could even add a bit of a delay time to actually being able to restore power. We don't have a wind advisory for us, but there is one just to our east for southern Rhode Island and then Cape Cod and the islands in Massachusetts. We are still waiting to hear if the National Weather Service is going to expand that. It goes from 11 o'clock Friday until 11 o'clock in the morning Saturday. So 11 p.m. Friday to 11 a.m. Saturday. And then the other piece to this is going to be the potential for some localized flooding issues. Thankfully, with the rain totals trending down for us, the flash flooding risk locally isn't too high, but what we will have to watch is areas of poor drainage that tend to see standing water when we get a lot of heavy rain, and the potential for some clogged storm drains, especially with all the leaves and things like that around. So we'll be watching very closely, of course. You can stick with Channel 3 for the latest. We will continue to have team coverage for the remainder of the week, too. Mark and I in throughout the rest of the evening tonight, and then Scott is back starting tomorrow morning, and then we will be here with you all evening long on Friday, right into Saturday morning as we get into the thick of it. So certainly a lot. Best way to stay covered for your area, download the Channel 3 app. Sends you updates based off of your location. You can use the radar on there to track these showers and storms as they develop. And thanks for sticking with the early warning weather team. We'll have you covered. I will say, just a little preview, on the backside of the storm system, things are trending chilly. So, you know, we didn't really experience much of our typical early November weather, and we may have a preview of the end of the month coming by the start of next week. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you on our newscast later on tonight.